In today's gospel, we have, again, Jesus in Jerusalem during Holy Week, and he's talking to the crowds about the scribes. And again, the scribes were held in very good honor among the people. The scribes were those who not only transmitted, faithfully copied the scrolls from past scrolls and brought the word, the Hebrew scriptures, down to the people, but also helped to interpret those words. And so they were held in high esteem. But he says that they were the people who devoured the houses of widows with their lengthy prayers, and they wear these long robes. They loved the salutations and the trappings of being in a high position. Because really, when we think about today, we think about the movie stars or athletes. And just like the time of back then, we think about that, okay, the restaurant has been, it has a waiting list and, but do you know who I am? And so they throw their weight around. They go to a plane and they want to be in first class, even though there's no seats available. They want to be in first class. They want to be able to do whatever they want to do. Drive 50 miles an hour over the speed limit, no problem, because you know who I am. So in a way, the same kind of deal that the scribes had back at the time of Jesus. They would have their lengthy prayers. Well, if you want, the real prayer, well, that's going to cost you. So the thing about it is that I don't think anybody goes into being a scribe saying, I'm going to devour widows' houses and I'm going to do this so I can be, so I can get seats of honor and salutations. But it just so happens. And so I think that's what happens sometimes when we make human beings more than who they are. And so the same thing that we have with movie stars and athletes and singers and musicians today, making them more than who they are and somehow deserving more than an average human being. So that's what Jesus is telling. And then he talks about the fact that the woman threw the two small coins into the treasury, whereas the ones who were wealthy were sending in, what they had, but they had it from their surplus, whereas she had it from all that she had, her whole livelihood. And I think one of the things that you got to be careful with in this particular gospel is, you can have a televangelist say, give up your car or give up your house and sell it, and the Lord will give you the double-fold blessing. The blessing of Job can be yours, by giving up, the house or the car or your bank account or whatever it may be. And you can do this and you'll be blessed by the Lord and you'll have abundance. But really, it's not that situation. It's really only the ones who have really been told by the Lord to do so. And certainly there are people today, there are people today who are attorneys, or they were doctors or dentists or entrepreneurs and making a lot of money, and yet they give it up for the purpose of preaching and teaching the gospel. And so there are some who are still called to do that. I think in the case of the widow, she realized that her livelihood was not based on her own money, which was very, very limited, but really based on, God providing for her from family and from others. And so because she didn't have much, and anything that she had was from God, that she was willing to give that up. But, again, it's not that we do this for the purposes of a double-fold blessing or a 60-fold blessing by giving up what we have, because, again, what we'll find ourselves is we'll either find ourselves broke or out on the street or something like that. If it's not what God intends or wants us to do, we can certainly find ourselves in those situations, out in the street with nothing. because again, God didn't tell us to do that. But I think the one thing it does tell us is that it does help us to kind of think about the idea of stewardship. It helps us to think about, our giving today. For some people, I've talked to some people and, they've made a fair amount of money, but now they're on a fixed income. So, they've had to cut back, so I tell them, hey, find the charity that you like. You're going to be inundated, with charities, but find the ones you like and support them. See what's important to you and support them. But then there are others who maybe, have done, maybe were doing poorly 20, 30 years ago, but they really haven't adjusted, to today, and they're doing much, much better. So it's really a call to think about, where's the Lord calling me to do with my money today? Is the Lord telling me to, to really think about, how much I've been giving to charities, giving to the poor, giving to the church, giving to missionary activities and things of the church, and to really kind of begin to adjust that. So if it's been, several years since you've kind of adjusted and made those commitments, maybe it's time to take a look at that, prayerfully consider making those changes and making, contributions for the charities that you really think are important, and then making those contributions today. So thanks, and God bless.